夜に浮かんでいたクラゲのような
Oh boy, it's been a hot second since we did one of those. Welcome to the seasonal lineup. My name is Misty/Chronexia, and today we take a look at the summer 2020, or whatever there's left of it post-corona. As usual, we divide the entries in two categories, new IPs and sequels. This season, mostly due to the pandemic, there's not a lot of new franchises to go about, or just anime in general, that are launched, so expect the pool to lack some quality. I work with what I can, but since I insist on getting as close to 10 entries for this top 10, I expect to have some yikes ones in there. Of course, my opinion is not purely objective, so take the entire ranking with a grain of salt. So let's go! Starting at the bottom of the garbage chute is number 10, because there's only 10 new IPs. Misfit of Demon King Academy. I hate it. I absolutely abhor it. I wish I could refund the 20 minutes I spent watching the first episodes because, dear God, it is the most cringy, edgy garbage I've laid my eyes on in the past couple of years. Okay, I'm over-dramatizing. I made a joke on Twitter and a whole hell broke loose, so clearly some people like it. I'll praise it on its good point. The art is pretty. That's it. That's all it got for me. World of magic, 2,000 years later, a demon king is reborn in a world and goes to school, except he's overpowered. You get all the tropes jam-packed into one package, seemingly dim-witted sidekick girl, boisterous antagonists 1 and 2 claiming they're the best, only to be shredded by the main protagonist in the first episode because he's such a cool guy. Born only a month ago, because that's how badass he is. There are some shows that do the overpowered trope well, like One Punch Man, Overlord, One Outs, and there's the silly ones like Smartphone Isekai, Wise Man Grandchild, and well, I feel like this is one of the latter. I hope it proves me wrong along the way, cause right now it's pretty disappointing. But if you like it, and that's more power to you. Don't let an old grumpy man's opinion like my own to dissuade you from watching this gem. Number 9, Peter Grill and the Philosophers' Time. The farce of the Holy Trinity of the ecchi hot summertime. Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time is the story of the strongest fighter in the world, Peter Grill. But because of that heavy title, every single woman in the kingdom wants to sleep with him to bear his children. According to the synopsis, they are vying for his seeds. I'm not really sure what's my take on it. On one side, it's kind of ridiculous in the same way than Interspecies Reviewer was, but I just don't see myself recommending it to anyone. Only reason it's on the list is, again, because there's only just 10 new IPs to talk about, so might as well tell you my opinion on every new IP. Bottom line, it's not really that good so far. You're better off watching a hentai instead, is my takeaway. Number 8, Dokyuu HxEros. Have you ever wondered what it would like if they took Power Rangers and made it hypersexual? I mean, don't get me wrong, every kid watching Power Ranger had a crush on the Pink Ranger at some point, but turn it into an anime and dial up the ecchi by 10? That's what you get with this one. Right now, don't really recommend the show. It is overly censored and that absolutely ruins it. Wait for the DVD Blu-ray release when they are gonna tone down the sparkly nips, and then maybe it'll be more enjoyable, cause right now it's just a big cock block every time. Art is really nice, premise is average, girls are cute, and well, it's all you can really expect out of another generic ecchi anime. But we take those by the tons here, don't we? Number 7, Monster Girl Doctor, the final entry of the Holy Trinity. I'm clearly biased on this one. I like the medical field a lot. Like, a lot. And I realize this is all fantasy with monster girls, so none of it is actually factual. Like, sore breasts and tender ears means a centaur is pregnant. Yeah, Sure thing, buddy. But I'm a sucker for it. I watched it all and didn't feel like gouging my eyes out, so that's a plus. It's a faraway spin-off of Monster Musume in the sense that they're not really related to each other whatsoever beside the concept of monster girls and humans coexisting together. The whole thing is flavored with a medical approach. If you care neither for ecchi comedy or fake medicine, then you might find this one dull as well. Otherwise, it's not as bad as the rating makes it out to be. I found this one more enjoyable than the previous 3, if that's worth anything. Number 6, Lapis Relight. I wish there was more to this anime than just another mindless, forgettable cast of cute idol girls doing songs. But yeah, it's exactly that, with the added touch of fantasy and magic to give it a bit of a spin. But essentially, if you're a sucker for idol girl, go for it. The art is neat, the songs are catchy, but besides being just another kind of earworm, it won't offer you much. I honestly recommend you to watch Hamilton on Disney Plus instead if you haven't seen it. This is really good. Yes, I am also one of the corrupted soul by Hamilton. It just plays non-stop at home. Non-stop. Non-stop is my favorite song, is what I meant. Number 5, GBA. Oh boy, I just don't know about this one. On one hand, it's a post-apocalyptic world kind of like I Am Legend and World War Z, except instead of zombies, it's just random monsters called the GBA virus. And on the other hand, it's a ninja and a samurai brought from the year 1600 into the near future 2030. I like some aspect of it. I think it has room for potential. It's made by a brand new studio. Visually, it's good. The monsters are a bit heavy on the CGI side, but I guess it's one of those shows that's just hard to make an opinion off of the first episode alone. So I'll just dump it here in the halfway point. If you think you can enjoy some end-of-the-world atmosphere during our pandemic, try it out.
未来とは一体江戸に違いないのか宇崎か
Number 4, Uzaki-chan wants to play. Big titties Takagi-san. I wish there was another way to describe this anime, but it's exactly that. Think of a mix between teasing master Takagi-san at 60%, 20% Aho Girl, and 20% Tejina Senpai. It should give you a really good idea of what to expect here. Not the craziest story to go about, but if you appreciate a good comedy between two goofy characters and their peculiar relationship with each other, it has a lot of charm, which is more than many have going in, so give it a solid shake with no expectations and you can only come out of it with a win. Number 3, deca-dence, an absolute sleeper. I do not mean this as a joke, it is actually super good. I cannot believe no one is talking about this one. Deca-dence does everything right in its first episode. The story begins with a girl who lost her arm and her dad when she snuck into an expedition she wasn't meant to go. In this post-apocalyptic world, everyone who's still alive lives in deca-dence, which is a mechanical fortress that protects them from the monsters roaming about. The people are divided in two categories: gears, who go out in the world to scavenge and fight monsters, and then you have tankers that stay in the fortress to take care of the maintenance of it. Said girl has always wanted to be a gear, but due to her losing an arm, she's relegated to the scrub team. Just watch the first episode. It starts slow, but the ending of it is gosh full of sakuga. It's stunning, and I cannot wait to see more. If you like Attack on Titan, Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, or Planetis, it's well worth checking out. Again, super underrated right now. Do not believe the score it has on myanimelist.net. It is incredibly inaccurate in my opinion. Number 2, Rent a Girlfriend. I'll be honest, I went in with the expectation that this anime would be generic garbage, but wow, was I ever happy to be wrong about something. The premise is about a guy who's been dumped by his girlfriend, and to rebound, he goes on an escort app called Rent a Girlfriend. So he goes on the date, and I was expecting the girl to be a two-faced, nice pretending, actually a bitch behind the scene kind of setup, and to my surprise, it wasn't the case. I mean, yeah, she is pretending to be nice, and she's her girlfriend and everything, but instead of turning mean, you just realize that she's just really professional about her job. During their second date, the main guy gets a text telling him his grandma collapsed, so they go to the hospital where he introduced the escort as his girlfriends, and it turns out the girl's grandma is also there, so they have to keep pretending for a while. Honestly, if the episode had ended at 21:52, it would have been a perfect one-shot, but I'm excited to see where they bring it next. And finally, number 1, the God of High School. Yeah, it's the absolute highlight of the summer. Last season, Crunchyroll Originals gave us Tower of God, which all things considered did a much better job than people initially gave it credit for. You know, being a manhwa, being adapted into an anime, people were skeptical. Which is why I think being the second one to follow this trend, people were more lenient on it from the get-go. It goes without saying that both God of High School and Tower of Gods are two very successful manhwa, so you expect their anime to perform just as well, and God of High School came out swinging. This is perfect balance of action, comedy, attachable character, and I cannot wait to see where it goes since I never read the source material before. But essentially, if I were to put it in one sentence, it is tournament arc, martial arts, shonen. That's all you need to know. Also, that triple kick in episode 2 may or may not have made me nut myself. Now, if you came for the sequels, now's your time to shine. At number 7, because there's not any more than 7 to talk about, is Muyo Toroji no Mahoritsu Soran Jimusho Season 2. I cannot blame you if you've never heard of the first season before. Barely a handful of people have. Supernatural detective, a very niche audience to a very meh kind of anime. But if it speaks to you, maybe you'll have a good time with the second season. Number 6, Ani ni Tsukeru Kusari wa Nai, Season 4. Kind of the same scenario than the previous entry. I doubt you ever heard of this series beside here on my channel. It's a quirky comedy between a girl and her brother. They made 4 seasons of it, so it must be doing something right. Heads up though, it's a bit on the low production side, so don't expect too much beyond flash animation. But sometimes less is more. Not always, definitely not always, but it works here. Number 5, No Guns Life Season 2. The remaining of the story for No Guns Life, detective-ish sci-fi drama where one of the investigator is a refurbished gunhead in the most literal sense. Number 4, Sword Art Online Alicization Part 2. Still on the fence about Sword Art Online? Here's the sequel to the build-up they made in the first part of Alicization. I'm sure there's gonna be many more iterations after this one. You just don't stop milking a cow as long as it works. Number 3, Fire Force Season 2. If, like me, you were worried about Season 2 as in how are they gonna top up the first season, well, fret not. It is exactly as good as you thought it was gonna be. I actually think it goes beyond. All things considered, Fireman Sexy Calendar Edition Season 2 is up and running. Now with hopefully even more waifu fire ladies. Number 2, Re:Zero Season 2. Remember watching Season 1 and being like, man, I wish Subaru would just suffer even more than he did in the first season. Well, that's Season 2 in a nutshell. Give the guy a break, man. Come on. If you were hyped for this show in the past few months, so far, it's living up to it. But my biggest excitement goes to number 1, Oregairu Season 3. There's just something that works in this series. The synergy of the characters, the situation arising being so relatable. It's a good show and I just welcome a new season for it. Actually, scratch that. Make it an ongoing show and I'll be happy. So many best girl, it's like watching Monogatari minus the vampire and all the ecchi stuff that makes Monogatari so good, but it's still like, it lives up. It's not a diss in any way.
聞いてもらってもいいのかしら。
So that's my initial take on the summer lineup. I made sure to watch the first episode of every single show in here to get a good grasp of what I was talking about, as opposed to some other reviewers, not throwing shade, wink wink, but I am, though. But if you saw my recent video, it gets better. This method is straight up in contradiction with what I normally advocate, so all in all, take this with an absolute grain of salt, like take the entire salter. Especially if I talk a show you like, Demon King. Having only the first episode to base myself on kind of limit my scopes of things. But it's a trade-off I have to do if I want this video to remain somewhat relevant. Nobody wants my opinion on fall 2019, no. That's kind of what I'm getting at. You want to do me that leaky boom boom thing with the subscribe and the bell thing? I mean, if I don't ask, people won't do it, so here's a shot in the dark. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next video.
Hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.